All right, I'm your host SG, and welcome to the DFC. Today we got DFC 5, and we're starting with Shlo versus Drive, then Znasty versus Zay. Let's go ahead and take a look at the tail to tape of the first fight. We got that champion sword taking on that purple cloud, man. We're gonna see how things play out, right? Drive obviously has the ping disadvantage since he is playing out of the EU. We'll see how that plays a factor here. But yeah, with that being said, man, we're gonna get right into the fight. All right, the fight's on. Let's see. That's a one passage feint. The metal ball gets through. Nice low iron lands from Drive. Actually, that was from Shlo, my bad. Nice judgment gets through. Prominence draw does not land. Iron quills, gets him up in the air. Nice little crit, but no, they got countered out with a lower slice. Crit misses. Nice little stomp on the grounder. Good stuff from Shlo. A little bit of friendly banter from Shlo here. Remember, these guys used to be guildmates. But Shlo said he's trying to get this win here, man. He wants his first win in the DFC. Nice work there from Drive, though. Heavenly Wind does not get through. Nice little lower slice, lands clean. Nice passage. Drive can't land a crit, though. I'm liking Drive's work so far. Judgment lands once again, man. He's doing some great work so far, man, in this fight. Astral Wind lands on a guard. Wind passage once again. We'll see if he can address that crit later on.
Oh, it's in my game like that.
All right, we got to pause in the action. Yeah, the referee can pause the fight at any time when it's needed. But yeah, we'll cut right back when we're back, man. All right, the fight's back on. Let's see what happens here.
Wait, nigga, I'm walking.
Got 40 seconds. Nice little judgment lands clean.
Yeah, not allowed.
Nice little Gale lunge, and he's out. Okay. All right, we got a nice little knockout in the first round to start things off. Great work from Drive. Let's go ahead and take a look at the replay real quick. All right, so right here, Drive does pretty good work starting things off with a prominence draw. But what do we see after that? Right, follows that up with an M1. Nice little Gale lunge, gets through. And then right here, man, we have the finish. Hits him with the Gale lunge right into the Astral Wind, and he gets a knockout. Great work from Drive. Let's go ahead and get to the interview, man. All right, Drive, right? Phenomenal work.
We gotta do post game.
Okay.
Loser too, bro. I gotta.
Yo, anyways, what is
Okay, man. Look, we'll give you. Nah, we're not giving you shit.
Hell no, bro.
Listen.
wait, what'd you say?
All right, listen, Drive, bro. Before I was brutally interrupted, look, you got things done nicely, right? You destroyed him, and you looked pretty good doing it, right? It wasn't even your ping, but tell me, man, what is next in the career? Who are you looking at as an opponent? You know, you got your first win in the DFC. Just tell me how that feels, man.
Pretty good. The guy was kind of mad.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 450 HP. So
bro, it doesn't matter how much HP you have, bro. Shut up.
I didn't have
I won him his ping, but I'm ready to play again.
All right. Thank you very much, Drive. We're going to move on to the next fight. But before that happens, let's take a quick look at the medium rankings, man. So right here, we got Z's, the new and improved champion who dethroned Dylan. But besides that, the division is actually looking pretty interesting. Right? We got Acker, a rising guy. You know, we got a former champion in Killua from the Elemental division. And then on top of that, we got Ghosty, an undefeated phenom. And actually, speaking of Ghosty, we got to talk about that promo. Going down in April is Z's versus Ghosty. Originally on this card, Ghosty was set to fight Lucky in a #1 contender fight, but that fight fell through. But with the champion Z's ready to defend his belt as soon as possible, why wait when we could put two undefeated phenoms against each other? Will the belt change hands? We'll soon find out. All right, we got tail to tape action. Hivler Hubers versus that wretched Mob Blade. Listen, this is gonna be an interesting fight, right? Because Zay is playing out of Asia, which is gonna be very difficult for him to even win, right? We'll see if he'll be able to pull something off. He said he wanted to have at least one fight in the DFC before he calls it quits, and this is the fight that he wanted. So we'll see how things go, man. Hopefully, we can see something interesting and an exciting fight. All right, let's see what happens. Fight is on. Nice little tranquil circle from Zay to start things off. We'll see how that changes the momentum of the fight, not being able to use mantras. M1's back and forth between the two. Goes for the crit, lands it clean. Follows that up with the nice little bubbles. Good uppercut from Znasty going for the crit. Nope, vents right out of it. I'm liking it so far, man. I don't know how Zay is like even functioning for real, because 290 something ping is horrible. It's horrendous to play on. Yeah, he's not even able to parry at the right time. Uppercut, gets through, sends him down. Goes for that crit once again, doesn't land it. Let's see what happens here, man. Nice M1 from Zay. Strong left does not get through. Nice M1 lands clean for Znasty. Good crit, nope. Gets rolled, uppercut. And he's out with a goddamn crit. That was clean. Okay, that was a clean crit. Great work from Znasty, man. That was crazy. That was crazy, right? That was a clean knockout, but it was pretty expected. Yeah, listen, I commend Zay for even trying, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, it's an NA-based thing, so it's pretty unfortunate. But yeah, with that said, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the replay. All right, so right here, Zay misses a strong left, right? Overcommits a little bit, but obviously the pain played a factor. Gets hit by a clean M1, and then obviously another M1 lands clean, procs a little, I believe it was the Ember, whatever it's called. And then right here, man, we saw Znasty wait for a second, go in for that nice little uppercut, I believe, after rolling, and then he caught him with a nice little crit. And bam, nice little knockout, man. All right, listen, Znasty, man, you did pretty well, right? You got a nice little knockout. Obviously, you know, the ping left things to be desired in the sense of like how you finished the fight. You looked great though. So tell me, man, what's the next fight? And would you be down to fight like maybe a guy like maybe like a guy like Aug, the loser of that fight, loser of skill versus Aug? Is that what you're looking at? Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely get you a fight pretty soon, you know what I'm saying? Get you booked up on another fight. Maybe you'll take on, maybe if you want to take like another newcomer or, you know, Aug, anything. Like, what are you looking at, really? Okay, any of them? All right, bet. Thank you very much, Znasty. All right, with that being said, man, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the heavy ranking. So we have a nice little update, right? And Zay did retire after that fight. He said that if he could not win this fight, then he doesn't see himself fighting again in the DFC. But yeah, man, shout out to Zay for even trying and participating, man. Yeah, it's a very difficult act, especially to win in the DFC, especially when you have like a heavy ping disadvantage. But yeah, man, with that being said, bro, it's about that time to take a look at the goddamn main card where Skilled and Aug will be fighting. DFC 5 Heat in the Hollow, Ants versus Curse is going down here at Miners Landing. We got a short main card, but still full of excitement. We start things off in a heavy division with #1 Skill versus #2 Aug. And then we move on to our high stakes title fight between the Elemental Champion Ants and the #1 contender Curse. This is the main card of DFC 5, and it goes down right now. To tape action, we got Skilled versus Aug, Curse Cleave versus that Rail Blade, right? Skilled is the former heavy champion of the DFC, and he's gonna be looking to bring things back and rebound after taking his first loss to Sword. We'll see how things play out, right? We got the NA East versus the NA West. Let's go ahead and take a look, man. Nice little running attack from Skill though. And yeah, the thing is with Skill, man, he said he wants to get a fast, quick, highlight reel knockout. He said he wants that belt back and he's hunting for it. Sharbo does not get through there. I don't know if that was, I don't know where that shit went. It might have been canceled, to be honest. I didn't get a clean look at it. Nice little table flip from Aug though. Revenge parried. Back and forth action, Sharbo from Aug there. Unless Aug used a Sharbo before, I'm not too sure. Sky Shatter kick lands on the guard. Ash Slam partially gets through. Nice little guard break from Aug though. Guard break once again from Skilled. I said once again like it was Aug that did it. Let's see what happens. Table flip misses. Nice little M1 clean. Fire palm, good crit. Nice combos here. Ash Slam does not land. Nice little rising flame. Oh, and he's out. Okay. All right, we got our first round knockout for Skilled. Honestly, I did not expect him to get knocked out there. Great work from Skilled, man. It's always a war with these guys, man. The heavy division is just crazy. All right, let's take a look at the replay. So right here, Fire Palm. I believe that got through and then obviously followed up with a nice little crit. But then after the crit, lands another M1. Ash Slam does not get through, but what does Aug do? He's kind of stuck on the terrain right here, right? So as soon as he's getting up, what does he do? He gets hit by a nice little aerial attack, Rising Flame, and then the Fire Tick, I believe, is what sealed the deal, or was that M1? Something like that. But yeah, we had a nice little knockout from Skilled. Let's go ahead and get the interview of the former heavy champion. All right, listen, Skilled, man, let's talk about it real quick, bro. What a way to rebound from losing for the first time in your career and losing that belt. But obviously, bro, you could be looking to get a nice little rematch there. So what? Tell me, man, how you feel after the performance, man? What words you got to say? Because, you know, you a very talkative guy. So let me know, man.
I lost my belt because I was kind of stupid. I decided to pick myself back up from my bootstraps and be like, I ain't losing again.
Okay.
And I proved that here today, bro. I didn't drop below half. I cooked that man's ass, bro.
Damn, bro. He ain't even wrong. He ain't even wrong, though. He ain't even wrong. But listen, Skilled, what I do have to ask you mainly is what exactly are you looking at in this fight against Soy, right? The rematch possibly for that championship belt. Because I think that you really went out here and just put together a whole different game plan, right? Usually you're like a sprawl and brawl type of guy, right? You'll defend yourself from time to time and use that to get like openings, or you'll like strike at the same time and like trade with your opponent. But what we did see here, right, was a more flexible, more versatile Skilled. But obviously, man, I want to tell you, what exactly would you say about your game plan here that you can bring into the nice little Soy fight? And tell me about the game plan in general, right?
I had to lock in and use different methods than I usually do. I practiced different combos. I started getting more flexible with my flame palm rather than relying on the bloodless healing of my flame ballista.
Yeah, it was a good plan.
I tried to be more flexible and it seemed to work out for me. I now have some ranged utility options against the pitcher's anchor when he's out of my effective range. So now we can fight fire with fire.
Yeah, fighting fire with fire is a huge thing, right? Especially against Soy, because we saw that last fight, especially with Petra's anchor and whatnot. But yeah, man, thank you very much, Skilled. Let's go ahead and take a look at the elemental rankings. We got the champion ends, #1 Curse, and then besides that, we haven't had like a whole lot of movement in the division. We'll see what happens and how things shape up. But yeah, with that said, let's take a closer look at the main event. This is the first time in DFC history where a fight has restrictions. Now, these aren't in place by me, but rather the champion and the challenger. The contract, the rules allow for harder conditions to make a fight more impactful. It applies to both fighters, increasing their rewards, but it has a risk because you're now limited to that contract. And what exactly did they come to? No shadow focus builds and no running. You can have shadow mantras, but it can't be a shadow build. Now, what makes it interesting is the willingness Curse had to accept it. I mean, at the end of the day, his last fight, he dominated with shadow. So with this contract, could we possibly have a new elemental champion? We're about to find out. All right, tail to tape action, Blood Fowler versus that Hero Blade. We'll see how things shape up, right? Shadow Cast for Ends and Blood Ren, even though he did ban, you know what I'm saying, shadow builds, he is using Shadow Cast, but it's not like his main focus in the build. But yeah, we'll see what happens, right? This is very interesting. I'm so surprised that Curse even accepted the contract in general, right? And yeah, I mean, since he accepted it, I can't really do nothing about it. He accepted the fight, so it is what it is. We'll see what happens, man. This is gonna make the fight a lot more interesting, seeing that Shadow is not in it. All right, our championship fight is about to be underway. Let's see what happens, man. Let's see what happens when we have a new champion or the same old one. All right, the fight's on. Let's see what happens. I just realized they were on the wrong side, but it is what it is. Vicious Descent does not get through. Nice little Crimson Rain, though. Rhythm Advance parry. Good crit from Curse. We'll see how Curse will handle things without that Shadow Cast, of course. Nice little crit, lands clean. And had he not accepted the fight already, I definitely would have probably did something to where we could see him with Shadow Cast. Nice work here from both guys. Nice crit, lands clean for Ends. Yeah, Curse is very good and versatile in general, right? He uses a bunch of different stuff. Nice combo there with a nice little guard break. Pushes him backwards with a flourish. Nice little M1s get through. Vicious Descent misses though. And yeah, End style is very difficult to deal with, right? He's like a pseudo mage type of approach, right? He likes to use a bunch of mantras, set that up into other things, you know, combo. And yeah, he used his bell over there, which I believe was Nice little guard break though. Let me stop talking about some bell. Nice tendrils. Or whatever they're called. Nice little auto slicer gets through though. And yeah, Curse is doing good, but it's like he's not been able to like handle the pressure of ends and like the amount of mantras. That doesn't get through the vein breaker. Nice little M1s here. Oh, and he's out. All right, we got a first round knockout. Title defense for ends, man. Great work. Second title defense is the most title defenses inside the DFC so far, man. We'll see, man, if anybody can tie that, but let's take a look at the replay. All right, so what we saw was ends being able to utilize and like capitalize on Curse not being able to react to like some of his mantras. I do think this fight might have looked a little bit different had we seen him with Shadowcast instead. Talk about Curse. But he did accept the fight, so like what, I can't really do shit about that. But at the end of the day, he accepted the contract and the fight. But right here, we had a nice little guard break from ends, right? And then he tried to follow it up with a vicious descent and missed. But he goes for the nice little blood orbs into the, I believe, I forgot the name of that move actually. But right here though, we had the finish. So that vein breaker, he tried to use it, doesn't get it off. Right, ends, or not ends, Curse used ghost. And then right here, blood orbs don't get through, but he lands a nice little M1 and another one that puts him out bad, man. Great knockout from ends. Let's go ahead and get to the interview for the champion. All right, listen, ends, you got things done inside the first round. You're still the champion. You looked very dominant. You know, what, not superbly dominant. You did get clipped at times, but tell me, man, what do you got to really say about this performance? What, not really about this performance. Just tell me how you feel right now. You know what I'm saying? We'll ask you about that in just a second.
I feel really good. I played my hardest. I locked the fuck in, and I won.
Yeah, you won pretty good. But ends, I do have to say, man, the contract did play a little bit of a factor. I mean, I'm not gonna ask you how much you think it played a factor, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter in the sense that, you know, he accepted the contract, he accepted the terms, and you accepted the terms too. It applied to both of you guys. But look, ultimately, with that being said, though, I do have to ask you, right, a little bit about the performance, about how you pick things apart. What was the main leading factor going into this fight? Actually, you know what? I'm not gonna ask you that, but what I mean is, like, from this performance, what exactly were your thoughts going into it, and how exactly did you execute that a little bit better than you did in the other fights?
Now, my plan was to try my best to react to all of his mix-ups and quick mantras, and parry to the best ability I could.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. But obviously, man, I have to ask you one more time. You know, are you looking to fight pretty soon? I mean, we don't really have nothing booked for DFC 7, which is obviously going after DFC 6. Would you like to be the headliner for that event? Because we don't have anybody else really to look at to be headlining.
Very, very much so, yes.
All right, Ends, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, your elemental champion. Get a nice little title defense in. All right, listen, Curse, you know, you didn't get things done here, but you did show up to the fight. You accepted the contract, and I have to respect you for that, right? At the end of the day, you know, you tried your hardest. You didn't get things done. But tell me, what was the main leading factor in this fight that you saw wasn't working well, and what really ultimately led to the loss? And on top of that, how do you think you're going to be able to rebound in the future, man?
I was unprepared for his crits. Every single crit hit me, and it guard broke me. My mix-ups weren't going well. I started to panic when I saw how much damage he did.
Okay, you listed off all like the negatives, but I want to know, man, what is next in your career, bro? Because look, this fight, I don't think it defines you in that sense, right? You did have the contract, you know, go in there, but I want to see what you do moving forward. So tell me, what's next in the career? What are you looking at as a possible plan? And yeah, what's really going forward, Curse?
Move divisions to medium to challenge the medium, but
okay, he wants to move to medium. We'll see how things go for Curse moving forward in his career, right? Thank you very much for participating, man. I appreciate you, Curse. We'll definitely give you some compensation in the future for even participating in the contract to fight. But yeah, with that being said, let's take a quick look at the pound for pound rankings. All right, so right here, man, the pound for pound rankings are shaping up nicely, right? Ends could be moving into that #1 spot depending on how he does in DFC 7, right, when he fights again. That's going to be pretty soon. That's, I believe, in June. But yeah, with that being said, man, right, we'll see how things go, right? We don't have a whole bunch of cards booked up and whatnot, but we do have things planned out. But yeah, with that being said, though, we'll see how things go inside the DFC. So far, we've had Z's and Ends be like some pretty dominant guys, and yeah, with that fight between Z's and Ghosty, we could see the title changing hands, but we could see it still remaining in Z's hands. But yeah, we'll find out pretty soon. Thank you for watching, right? This was DFC 5. I'm your host, SG, and I'll see you in the next one if I do, right? Whenever you see this, make sure you like, subscribe. See you guys. Peace out.